the 19th at 7 o'clock. Our invocation today will be given to us by Mr. Shea.
It's Wednesday.
Please rise. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight and we ask your blessing. We ask that you watch over each of us tonight as we go through our toils, our labors. Give us wisdom to make the right decisions. Give us the strength to carry on each day. Father, we're so gracious of blessings you have already bestowed upon us. Your love and your commitment to each and every one of us, we are so grateful for. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
We have established quorum here. We have Councilman Morones, Councilman Nieto, Councilman Guerrero, and Councilman Rodriguez. If you could just recite the pledge, Texas pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag.
Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
At this time, I'd like to entertain any citizen comments. Mr. Bovis.
Mayor, this is something that I've been looking at, I just want to know, what are the city councilmen's bios, if they haven't been updated, and it's all blank. I think it's been sad, because people don't know what these gentlemen's capabilities are. And the reason I'm saying is, we got another city council that's fixing to come in, and if we don't know about them, how can people vote for them, And I think that's what is very important for the city to know, what they're going up against. I don't know, I might be a very uneducated person up here and don't have the common sense to be in the city council. But I think it's very important to update that webpage, and I'm just bringing it up because it hasn't been updated for probably a year or 2 years.
And we've been working with Mr. so eventually you'll see.
And somebody else put that up, so we don't even know, they didn't ask us about no vowels or whatever they put on, they put themselves, so it didn't come from us, so we have to clear that up.
Monica, maybe you can help us with that. Okay, check and see if he doesn't have anything, see if he did. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rogers. Is there anyone else? Okay, then we're gonna go to number 1, old business. Consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes for February 27th, 2014.
Well, we need to make a correction on 4C. Councilman made a motion, we didn't state what councilman. It shows Councilman Moran is making the second, but the original motion was not. You see it?
Yes, I did, okay.
Monica, I think it was Councilman Yellow. Okay. So that we can make that correction. Okay, is that the only correction that you'll see?
Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes from February 27th, 2014 with the correction on 4C.
That's second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Guerrero to approve with the correction for item 4C to include the name of Councilman Nieto as making the motion. Second by Councilman Morones. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Just one. Motion carries 3-1. Okay, now we're going to go on to our presentation and discussions under number 2. The first one is a National Historic Trail Association Hike and Bike Trail, and our city manager is going to give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Well, the gentleman was here last week, Mr. Gonzalez, I believe. He was here and presented and made because we didn't have a form, but he did present and left some documents for us in reference to do that. And so what I'm looking for is actually direction in reference to how you want to proceed in going forward, in reference to the signing. Going forward, he said that they could actually look at doing an unveiling here when they have the national convention, I believe it was in October, so that we can actually mark our trail for the National Historical Society. They have given us a letter of support in reference to this project, so staff is looking for direction going forward. Any funds that have to be expended, we can get back to you. I've met briefly with the Park Commission, the Park District, not Commission, Parks Foundation, and that they are issuing in reference to supporting this idea as well. And so the funding will come back and find where we find the funding from, but what we want to know is, do we want to proceed and look at doing the hike and bike trail? I did present also in reference to, I believe it was Monday night, to the 4B board, and they said they would give us support in reference to a letter of any kind of support for the hike and bike trail, and that they were happy to see it moving forward.
Okay. And did we have a dollar amount on that? Did he give you something?
He gave us a
Give
dollar
one of those?
amount in reference to the signage would be, I think it's somewhere between $1,500. They'll include our labor in the post for the signs. One of them would be the kiosk, which was more of a, I don't have that.
Is that the total for all signs or per sign?
All signs,
All signs?
yes.
And then
What's that key?
Plus the kiosk display.
was that a separate price on it?
It would include the kiosk display, yes. The forefathers actually had this in mind when they came to the hiking bike trail. As you can see, and Councilman has in front of him, on the back of the page is actually your wonderful bridge of the city of Floresville bridges that's there. There's two historical bridges there. One of them is a black bridge, which is close to the golf course. The other one is a red bridge, which is right around Goliad. Also the depot, which I went to go have a chance to visit, and I'm sorry, man, we didn't get a chance to look at the week, we still have the keys to that. To see that I understood that it was sold and then brought back and restored as a beer warehouse, which really was a beer warehouse. And of course, the first location of Phelps was right there on that site as well. And so I have discovered it's about 3.5 miles, and it goes all the way to Highway 97.
And what was in that mysterious warehouse? I forgot to ask you.
Actually, it looks like some yard sale and some few pieces of equipment, but it wasn't much.
Packed full of stuff and it wasn't,
It's
there
not.
wasn't anything in there
It's-
at all.
I counted maybe 4 or 5 tables, some garage sale stuff, and maybe a printer, some other equipment. Other than that, we have more furniture here than they do over there.
It looks like one of the, like maybe Mr. Feetsum donated or gave one of those old printers from the Chronicle. It looks like there's an old, some type of newspaper printer thing, but other than that, there's really.
It's not
That's
touch.
random.
It's not touch. It's a pretty steady building. It was surprised the power works. It didn't look like it had any water damage inside when we went there. It was pretty, I was pretty
Because
rough.
there's paper boxes of papers and stuff and nothing was wet, so it's not leaking in.
It's good. Okay.
At this point, it's just, we were just discussing, I guess,
It's just a discussion. Is this something that you want staff to spend some time and energy on going forward? Or maybe they can even put Floresville on the map and a different, a whole other tourism level? That definitely something that your historical commission could get their teeth into. And we really want to focus on our history. If I may, Mayor and I met earlier with someone coming up with some ideas for our webmaster, some different ideas. And he said the historical value is what we need to focus on. Not necessarily Texas with a star, but actually that we have that historical courthouse, that, you know, we can have a logo that looks like that. And of course, this is historical, and as he said in the presentation, that historical tourism is second to only shopping. And so there is money there. But we can leave downtown and encourage people to go to C Street.
Whose responsibility for the upkeep on it would it be?
It would be the city's responsibility for the upkeep, but once it's deemed a national, as he said, it took an act of Congress to do this, then there's funding out there to help preserve national historical landmarks. So this would be a landmark, not just a Texas landmark, this would be a national.
Yeah, so my concern is, you know, we've had it for a while and it was maintained not very long. You know, we had trash barrels and so forth, and now we don't I've been out there, they're not working, they come after me, whatever, so that would have to be controlled better, and I just don't know, whether it would be used, other than just.
Well, I have to agree with you in the reference that in its current condition, no, it would
Yeah,
not, because of the
that's why I was asking
lighting
if you
and,
maintain it.
so in
Keep
the
it up.
current condition, but if we can get funding to make the improvements that we need to make, and also to have, some of the oil companies are looking for projects that they need to be able to invest in communities that are affected along the Eagle Shell, that we're looking for them to be a good corporate citizen. Here's everything they want to be able to have a good corporate citizen to do, to sponsor that. So yes, it needs some love and attention, and I think if it had the proper love and attention, that people would use it more frequently. I pass by the compound every day coming to work, and that is a park that is well used, but you can't bring bikes on that park. And so small children need to be able to ride safely, but we need to be able to encourage people to ride bikes, to walk the dogs, walk the dogs. I mean, there's snakes there, there are issues there. It is not at its current state where it should be, but getting the national recognition of that, and then turning around and getting funding to be able to maintain it, and then to make some improvements to it, is the way to go.
Okay, so I've seen cycles out there too, motorcycles going, so that would have to be.
Yeah, we will have to depend very heavily on the police to help us to maintain that. You've done some things, about having barricades so cars can't drive up and down, or cars can't go over those bridges, but it is definitely something that we can look at. The unique thing that he did say about our hike and bike trail is that it's a historical, the Willard G from the Wilson County Historical Site, it is the trail, but it also is not a replica, it's not redone, but it's also on public property. The rest of the trail, hit and miss, all the way to San Antonio, sometimes falls into people's backyards, and it's private property, not public property. So this is a unique thing that the city of Floresville could actually take hold on. I asked you read some information about the Lodi and how the city of Floresville took away the county seat from Lodi and became the county seat. It's very important for us to be able to mark our history. There's historical cemeteries around. We have a whole lot of history here. That's what we want to be able to have people to champion it, to have people to show that.
When the gentleman spoke last week, there was a question concerning, I forget who it was, brought up the question whether the railroad still owned part of that, or whether that they released all of that area.
You know, some of the railroads are coming back. I know that a couple of years ago they were looking at that. I mean, more than a decade ago, they were looking at this rail has actually been removed. And so for it to be an active railroad, it would take a whole lot for them to be able to do. They have to get moved from Polk, because it came from Polk, coming this way to San Antonio. So they're looking at other roads, but it is like deeded to the city. We have used to that, which is why I think that the 4B board is having problems selling the Bill warehouse, because they don't have necessarily a clear title. And so what we want to be able to do is to enhance what the forefathers had a vision of doing. Even the water tower is there, I know it has graffiti, but it is the original one. We even found some cans and some signage inside that warehouse that's just been sitting there. So we have plenty of things that we can hang, plenty of things that we can do. And I would envision that depot be an opportunity for a home for our historical society to have their own little museum, sell postcards. We take a picture with the peanut, and you can do that walking on the hiking bike trail.
Mr. Jones, is that something that the Parks Foundation could help out with at different times?
Yes, ma'am.
Not necessarily financially, but
If you remember back to last week, when he mentioned that he was bringing $1,000 to offset the cost, and I had asked the question, if the dollar water bill, would that be, his $1,000 be considered, if we were to add to it, would be a grant? And John, in your question, I had brought it up that I had read either the week before or earlier in the month that the Supreme Court of the United States had ruled 8-1 that is jeopardizing the rails to trails issue because the landowner's estate, I guess, had sued to get the property back after the rail had quit going through there. And I think Mr. Hugg took the information from me. He was going to look it up because I think Lou's office is working the case somewhere in Texas dealing with something very similar to it. So, but the Park Foundation could get involved with, you know, what we're doing and how we're doing. But again, until we get our 501c three back, which ought to be fairly soon now, that we can't go out and ask for donations based upon the fact that they can take it off of their income taxes. So once we get that back, we'll be fully instated, and, yeah, we can do some things.
Lou, are you working on something on that? Did Chris mention that to you?
Chris gave me just a brief report about as much as he did, and I know Chris is doing the research, but he said he spent the last 2 days doing the actual entomology stuff. Chris has been doing that. I mean, literally. So I want to defer to you, Doug. I'm sorry I don't know the details.
Yes, Mr. Rhodes?
Mayor, we do have a lot of work to do in that area where, and when we talk about dogs, I think that to avoid stuff like that, we need to take people, I guess a code enforcer or the police department, somebody, to make sure all those dogs have rabies shots. Because that's the last time we want somebody going to get bit by a dog. Another thing that maybe we need to, the city needs to look into putting privacy fences along the whole area so dogs will come out from the neighborhood and chase somebody down the trail. I mean, these are something that we need to be looking at because it's a dump site. I hate to say it, but it's a dump site to go in that area. And I wouldn't allow my girlfriend or even my grandma to walk in that area because, you know, it's a dump site. And I think the code enforcement needs to enforce it.
Okay, council, do you all want them to proceed, to pursue on that? I personally think it's a good thing, once we get it where it needs to be and the improvements that are done. Because you have to start thinking that Floresville is growing, whether we like it or not. And we have to have things for people to want to come down to our town to see. That is one thing that could be done. Like she said, the beer warehouse is right there. Other just turn around the corner and they're in downtown, where they can get them to our town. You know, but it has a lot of possibilities. It's something that we don't have, and that would be a national market. So I think that we should pursue, my opinion, to see what all it would entail, dollar-wise, legal-wise, whether the rail's gonna want to take it away after we spice it up, you know, but to see, and then come back to the council. I don't know how the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that, as long as we know that we need to stay on top of it. Every year, when council changes, we need to stay on top of it.
Yes, and the ownership of that is definitely EDC. Not only can we do for the transfer to the city, it's on our books, it's on their books, it's on too many people's books. But just this week, Alex and his crew were out there working on straightening up some things, getting some things done, so we can start looking at that trail and making it more presentable for people, and hopefully to encourage. I think lighting may address a lot of the issues that we have. You know, bringing attention, it's just too dark in some areas, and we need to, you know, some criminal activity, the police will tell you, you put lights there, and they have lights that you can't even shoot at, that we can put there, so that we can definitely make sure that we have those lights.
Well, we gotta see if the railroad still owns it, or is it possible, that's the first question before you start
Actually,
investing money on it.
it's deeded to the city, and we have it for 50 years, and then they have to give us a 2-year notice to take it back, the railroad itself, because it was like an easement, they deeded us the easement in their land.
What I had heard, I don't know how true that story was, that they wanted to have something from Sospampo this way, where, oh, they're gonna be able to bring the railroad back because they're working. I don't know how true it is, that's what I'm just saying, that make sure that, like she said, we have 2 years, but it's okay, that we're gonna invest a whole lot of money on it, and we have to make sure that it belongs to the city. Well, I don't know, we can
I
ask.
can answer one of the questions real quick. When Howard Berger did the work for the city, we got the railroad to give us the nature of a license because they retained their easement over the property inside the city of Floresville. When Howard did the same work proposed, he was able, because of the same railroad and the same bunch of people he was dealing with, he was able to get Post to get fee simple. So Post owns theirs, we don't own ours, but we do have a license to be there. And now that the reason they wanted, and Howard was doing the work for this city, is there was talk about a pipeline, a water pipeline going in that right of way, coming down here for the purpose of serving salt. That idea talking about, sir, up by Sespanco or a little bit beyond Sespanco, does have a new railroad. That new railroad yard is in place, there's nothing beyond, well, let me put it this way. There's nothing in the city limits that they're contemplating doing. And we've made some switches on the land in the park, in the golf course parkway, that you specifically is aware of. That property is pretty much yours, but technically it's not fee simple. I can tell you that without doing any more work. But beyond that, you're gonna have to be sure that if you make improvements, we've got permission to do it.
How many years out of those 50 do we have left?
About 46. And probably closer to 42, actually.
Well, I'm gonna now be here.
So you're okay with it? We're going to.
Okay, we'll move forward. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilman.
Okay, next we're going to go on to 2B, Police Department Racial Profiling Report. And this is going to be done by Shaq.
Madam Mayor, gentlemen of council, the state of Texas requires each law enforcement agency every year to compile their racial profiling data. That data is then submitted to the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. They compile the data. Based on their findings, they issue back a report to us. That report is then, we're required to present to our governing body, which is y'all. We claim what's called a partial exemption, which is a tier 1. The reason we claim that exemption is because all our vehicles that conduct motor vehicle stops are equipped with audio and video equipment, and then we maintain all those video files on file for 90 days. The state gives you what's called compliance or non-compliance. We are in compliance, so everything is good. I know the chief gave y'all some of the information or part of the report. Really, it's a bunch of numbers. What the state looks at is the total number of traffic stops, which we call a contact. That doesn't include tickets or warnings. That's just a stop is a stop. Then you look at the race or ethnicity of the person operating the motor vehicle. Was that race or ethnicity known prior to the stop? Was the search conducted? Was the search consented? All those numbers are compiled to give them whether or not we're in compliance or not. And like I said, we are in compliance. And that's basically it.
What happens when a search isn't consented?
If they deny consent, there's 2 things. I mean, if they deny consent, you can't search the vehicle unless you have a warrant.
Okay. No, I was just curious because there's 49 on there and in comparison to the ones that consented.
Yeah, and you see most everybody consents. And believe it or not, I don't know the psychology behind it, but even the guy that's got to load dope in his trunk still consents, even knowing he's got dope in the trunk. You know, I think people get that mindset by saying no. You know, they're going to try to, but, you know, I've seen cases, you know, where the officers got consent, guys, oh, yeah, search my vehicle, I don't care, I got nothing to hide. And the officer finds, you know, a kilo of cocaine under the seat. You know, so I don't know the psychology behind it, but most of them wind up consenting. Any other questions?
I had one, going over all the officers, how many stops they have. And this may just be the time that he patrols, but he had like close to 200 more than anybody else. Is there a reason for that? Was it just his time?
So I could answer your question without looking at the information you burned.
There's a police officer that has over close to 200 more stops than anybody else. So I was wondering.
I have, you know, with any business, you have employees that sell in one area or the other. I have guys out there, and I'm pretty sure I know who you're referring to, but he loves doing traffic stops. That's his thing. I got officers out there that at night that love to do dope, love to do interdiction, and that's their thing. I got officers that like to work burglaries, and they'll go out there and spread fingerprint powder everywhere. You know, everybody's got their little niche that they find that they like to do, and he's a go-getter, you know, that's the thing.
Well, I just, going over, I saw
Well, I don't know if you recall, but when I put on the presentation on the, I think it was last year sometime, about how our percentage of traffic, I mean, the percentage went up by 50%. So we're seeing a lot more traffic. And so just coming through town. And so everybody has increased. But again, like I said, I got a couple officers that love doing it, and that's their thing.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
Councilman, the follow-on question is, can you give me a list of the name of the officers that like to do those?
Yeah.
Representation.
Mr. Clark, do you feel that Mr. Guerrero was racial profiling that police officer? Like, ask him a question?
well, he didn't ask the officer at right, so I'm going to assume that. But Johnny, then again, the officer is bald-headed, so I don't know if that's profiling.
No, she has it. He's just looking through the whole.
Every traffic stop has to be documented, whether it's a warning or.
It has to be recorded. So all those things I listed to you, all that has to be recorded.
When is the new system going, Clark?
I don't know, we just got word today, and the chief had to call them on something, but they were just waiting for some of the parts to come in, and then the chief had to order, I think it was like an air card through Verizon.
With Chelsea?
Yeah, and I think we're just waiting on that, and then we'll start installing.
So then it should probably increase, and I mean, if you think about it.
It'll probably increase, because what it does, CopSync will knock down the time it takes to do a traffic stop. The good thing, however, is all this data that we're doing right now that we're compiling, is all done by hand. The officers have a form that they carry with them. Now with CopSync, once they scan that driver's license, it's automatically on the computer for us.
You may be able to see all of the police officers with the same number, not just one.
Well, you should have some that, I can take from my own point of view, I never liked writing tickets, And I got to a point in my career, every time I pulled somebody over, I knew them. So,
No reason to give them a ticket if they're in the wrong,
yeah.
except if it's me.
I never wrote my mayor or any of my councilmen tickets.
But how many times you stop?
I never have.
And Shad, it's my understanding that the county is looking at putting that into their budget for the upcoming year, so that they can have a CopSync also.
Yeah, the IT guy from the county's been working with me.
And Ms. Bays also at the school district, because we were talking about.
And Phelps also is getting onto it. I don't know, CopSync has another portion of the program that's available to schools and companies, where basically, like in your company truck, you're gonna have like a system to where you can hit a panic button, and it'll locate where you are, and it'll send it out to the nearest police officer. And so, I know Phelps is, I talked to them yesterday, Phelps is.
Okay. You have any questions? Okay, the next item is 2C, 8-liner policy.
I don't know if y'all recall about 3.5, 4 years ago, we had two main 8-liner businesses open. At that time, Chief Martinez decided to get a search warrant, and we seized 63 machines, I believe it was, along with the cash that went along with it. Took a lot of manpower hours, took up a lot of time, to do it, and in the end, I don't think the seizure affidavit that was supposed to be filed by the county attorney ever got done. What wound up happening in the end was the county attorney basically said, we won't file any charges on you if you release all these machines to the police department. Then one of the criteria is once you get the machine, you can't sell it, you can't resell it in the state of Texas. So we had to find a company that would send it out of the state of Texas for resale. So back then, Chief Martinez wanted to look at what other cities were doing as far as their 8-liner businesses. And then I guess with him coming up from retirement and everything else, that kind of fell to the wayside. Chief Herrera has decided to pick the ball back up, and he wanted to look. And so we went out to see what other cities were doing with their 8-liner machines. And so the ones closest to us that I called were the city of Poteet, the city of Seguin, and the city of Three Rivers. And all of them have enacted what they call a city permit. And each machine gets a city permit. The business is required to pay a fee for each permit. That permit goes on the machine. And it's not telling them to pay your legal. It's just saying you're getting a permit from the city. And from what I found, the permits range from anywhere to $1,000 per machine to $2,000 per machine. Seguin put in their policy where if the business only had 0 to 6 machines, it was like 500, 7 to 20 machines, it was 1,000 on up. I talked to the chief of police in Three Rivers, and one of the things that he was amazed at was they were doing it at $1,000 a machine. Their council upped it to $1,500 a machine. And he said, I thought this would be a good way they would kind of start phasing out. And he said, actually, they wound up getting more of these places coming together. But it's kind of like, I don't want to make it sound like a revenue, but it's kind of like an alternative revenue for the city that we could look into. I didn't know, but Chief Herrera had asked Lou to do a little research into it, and I guess Chief Martinez had already done it. And so Lou has already wrote a city ordinance for us back in 2012. And so it would just be up to y'all to adopt whatever fees you want for the ordinance, and then we could go back over it again. Like I said, tonight's just for discussion.
How many of those 8-liners do we have here in the city limits?
I don't know how many total. I know we got that one place now that's next to the barber shop on 181. I know Vistar still has some in it. The 8-liners, I've looked into this law, and we've talked about it, and it's one of these unusual laws because it says, you know, gambling. Everybody thinks if it's a gambling device, it's illegal. However, the state looks at it a little bit different. One of the things that we found out is in order to make it gambling legal is either, like if you have a poker game. If you have a poker game in your house, that's not illegal. But if you have a poker game in your house and you take a cut from the pot for hosting in your house, that makes it illegal. So with the 8-liners, it's the way they pay out. And I think back when we were looking at it 3 years ago, it was if it paid out 10 times more than the amount paid in. So if somebody put a penny in there and they won 11 cents back, it was illegal. So a lot of these 8-liner people went to, instead of giving out cash, they gave out prizes. Well, the state said, again, it was what the prize was worth. So if you put a penny in there and you won a motorcycle, that's illegal. But we also found out when we seized all these machines, there were 2 different machines that the state hadn't classified as being a gambling device. So we couldn't seize them. We had to give them back to the guy. But they were still 8-liner machines, but because of some brand of what they were, the state hadn't classified them yet. So it was one of those gray areas. And that's why a lot of these cities, and like I said, for us to go through the process of just the seizure, you're talking, we hit 2 places that night. First of all, you had to send other undercover people in there, and they had to be in there because they had to check all these different machines. You come back out, you got to write your search warrant, get it approved by the district attorney, get it signed by the district court judge. Then we had at least 10 officers, 5 going each location, seizing the machines. Then we had to get the city workers out there to load up all the machines, take them to the storage place. We had to rent a storage unit at the store. You know, and so for me personally, it was a lot of work for what little money we got out of it. Because some of those machines, because you can't sell them in Texas, pretty much everybody knows that, so I know like on a couple of machines, we got like $100 for it. You know, and so when it was said and done, and I don't remember the exact total, but when it was said and done, to me, it wasn't worth it to spend all that manpower hours. And I think other cities in Texas have seen the same thing, and that's why now they're starting to do these permanent things. And again, it's not saying you're legal, you still have to abide by the law, but in order for you to operate this machine in our city, you're gonna be required to have a permit.
The best place to go, Jack, in this area is Brooks County. Brooks County got 15 game rooms, and they pay some big money.
Yeah.
You know, and they're paying probably like $2,000 a seat. I
Well,
don't know if it's against the law, but I mean, that's what they're getting at. I mean, they tell you they'll give you a prize, but what I mean is they're willing to pay that money that you're saying. You know, they come up with $500 or whatever, I mean.
well, like I said, the chief in Three Rivers told me that he had eight different locations that had gaming, and when they went up to 1,500, they got 6 more that moved in.
And Brooks County, they have a buffet. They give it, I mean, they lay it out like, they come in, they walk across the street, they call it little baby.
Well, I mean, that's up to y'all, that may be another way to get tourism down here.
No, but what I'm saying is bad, we don't want that either. I mean, it's just.
No, that's true, that's true.
But look up, whenever you want to check it out, check out Brooks County. Check Brooks County.
But you know what, there's a sample in here, Chad, that's from CE, and it says 2 to 3 machines, $1,000, 4 to 6, $1,750, 7 to 10, $2,500, 11 to 20, $5,000, 21 or more, $10,000.
And again, and that would be up to y'all to set the fee amount.
Can you imagine what they could do with parks?
Okay.
Annually.
Yeah, that's an annual fee, every year they have to pay it.
Is
So
that-
every year they gotta
but
come
that's
out
per
and renew it.
machine, right?
Per machine.
Mayor, I'm against that. Mainly because the times are hard, and there's some people out there that don't have the money, they want to be spending money, they become gamblers. And then they're gonna become people stealing stuff from people, trying to make, keep on gambling. I mean, I think this type of thing should go some other county, but in the city of Floresville, I don't think it will, Let's do the work, because it's like smoking pot. Pot is illegal, but if you smoke, it's okay? No, that's the way I look at it. Send them down the road to go gamble, but we don't need them here in the city of Floresville.
Like Emily.
I know you do. I see you there.
Like I said, since tonight was just a discussion, and like I said, we already had the city ordinance. Next time we revisit, like I said, y'all can come up with a fee schedule, however you want to do it. All right?
Let's leave on
Thank
it.
you, Chad.
Okay, Ms. Turner, your turn. City managers report.
In your packages is the city manager report, and I start off with the open position for the city comptroller. We have posted on TML as well as we posted on TML as well as our box here, and I did not have an opportunity to finish getting all the ads to the Wilson County News, but it will be before the end of the week for these positions, for all 4 positions. For all 4 positions. The comptroller, city secretary, a public utilities director, but we want to have a new title of community development director, and I can explain that to you in a minute, and then a code enforcement officer. So these positions have been posted on our city council, our city bulletin boards, our city website, preparing for the local news, and TML, as well as I have spoken to several employment agencies. What I really like to do is to focus on getting a comptroller. As most of you know that yesterday was Laura's last day. She will be coming in probably 2 more days later on in the month to prepare for the final audit information and trying to complete some of the audit information at the end of the month. But physically, she will not be here on a day-to-day basis. I've met with Fonda. She's a great employee, and I know this incident came up once before in reference to her coming back to this position, and I think she feels very strongly that she can help us the learning curve for our new controller, but we will need an interim controller. This is a sensitive portion as we get ready to finish up last year's budget, the last audit, finish up this year's budget, and get ready to prepare another budget. It's like it's a cycle. We're always preparing for a budget. So what I'm asking for is to look at allowing you to look at different different people to look at doing employment agencies to do so. Now, there's several listed in your package. We can go over to it at that time when I finish my report, but I'll keep going on this report here. Ms. Wagner is our auditor. She audited us and came in from our company. She thought she was going to be able to meet with us on the 24th or 25th, Mayor, but she's unable to meet. She wasn't able to get all the information. I believe the attorney sent over the letters and copied you all on the letter that's required for him for the audit. She has some numbers, and so that probably won't be coming before you until April.
First meeting in April.
Is that the 10th? April 10th, rather than at the end of the month as we had proposed.
Okay, are we on to audit committee?
Yes, I was going down the report, because I think I have a separate issue to talk about that focuses just on the comptroller. So I just want to finish my report so I can do things in order. Is that okay?
Because I had a question on the position.
Okay, we can, I'm sorry.
Okay, are we losing a code enforcement officer? Because I know that's not in the budget.
Code enforcement officer is not in the budget, but that is actually what the assistant to the secretary did. That's what that position did. So you had a secretary and assistant to the secretary, and that assistant to the secretary is supposed to be doing code enforcement. And so we need to really call it what it is. We need a code enforcement
Okay,
officer.
so we don't have an assistant. Who's being replaced here?
Okay, so Monica right now stepped into the position of an interim secretary. So that would be advertising for that position. She can either go back to that position and that pay, or we can hire someone else if she moves up. So we need to put all those out there in reference to that.
Pretty much they're trying to say that why are we posting for that job if Monica doesn't get her, the city secretary, she doesn't let her go that one. Why don't we wait to see what happens with that position of the city secretary and then hire that position in another day?
Yes, sir, you have a good point, and that's why we put them in the order of importance. As you see, number 1 is the comptroller, number 2 is the secretary, and the 4th is the code enforcement officer. So my time and attention will be spent in that order.
So on number 2, the city secretary, when will she have an opportunity, or anybody have an opportunity to apply for that position, and we consider a full-time city secretary versus an interim?
We posted it,
Well, when is the posting closed?
30 days,
30 seconds.
30 days.
You mentioned agencies down here. I know the importance as a comptroller, which I agree with you, but are the other 3, are you going to look at agencies for those 3 also, or are you just going to, go by the posting that you've done at City Hall and through?
The first 2, 1 and 2, I've asked those employment agencies to look at those positions as well, those key positions for comptroller as well as city secretary.
The last time that we used an agency, it cost the city $21,568.79. That concerns me because I don't know if it's going to be double the price. If Monica's doing well in the interim city secretary, I feel we should wait and see if TML, who charges us $0, comes up with anything before we even seek an agency for that. The controller, obviously, it's a very important position, and it does require. But also, we're putting it in TML. I'd like to give that a chance also.
I spoke with Mr. Eubanks when they were looking for their director, and he said there's several companies that do it for free. They didn't pay a penny to get Mr. Baker. So I too am concerned about whether we have to go out and spend when there's services that we do it for free. So we can get with Mr. Eubanks or Mr. Talley and see what resources.
Well, actually, Monica and myself spoke to the TML, and once you post on TML, you also have posting of Indeed. Indeed, which is a job search engine. They post it to all of the important jobs. As part of being on the TML, they also post it to all of your major job board postings, which are at no cost.
Right.
Okay, so Indeed is very good, it's very popular. So those will also be out there as well.
But these other agencies that you're
But the agencies, what you're talking about, was actually talking about an interim, that I need to have an interim in place. My timing is that I definitely need to have someone in place by May 1, it's getting ready for the budget cycle. And so we need to have an interim, so we could use the agency just for an interim. They're like a hired manager, that you can have them in here as well. We keep everything going forward as we look into, so because we need 30 days, so it'll take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to make a selection.
So is Fonda willing to take it on for 4 to 6 weeks so that we don't have to pay that money? I'm just concerned because we're so short of money and I don't know where else we're gonna find it.
Let me just say that I came in today and talked to Fonda, and Fonda said that she could take this on for 4 to 6 weeks. And if it's gonna cost the city, I think it was more than 21,000, but we'll go with the 21,000. You know, we flew people in for evaluation, or, you know, for this job, posting that you're the city manager. I think you were one of them that they flew in. And I believe anybody that wants to get a job shouldn't be thrown in from anywhere. But, you know, we're spending this money like if it's ours, it belongs to the taxpayers. And we put the same $30,000 on this election that passed. And just because of reasons that it was due on the 28th versus this and that, and we're always just spending the money like if it's to throw away. Right now, we're in a tough time. And I think for the 4 or 6 weeks that we need, I think Fonda, I talked to Fonda, I said, can you take this on? And she told me she could. Now, she was there for 2 years. Why a person that was there for 2 years can't handle 4 weeks of work while you have all the authority to hire who do you want, but you can go through all the resumes. If you need help, we can maybe form a committee to help you look at these applications or whatever, but to just go out there and say we want to hire an agency, you know, we have to think of how we can save a penny here and a penny there for the city. And you know, I talked to Fonda, and she said she was willing to do it. So, you know, you're the city manager, you're the boss. You tell people what they're going to do here, what they're not going to do. And do you believe that she can do the job, or what is it that
Well, my recommendation is to hire someone in the interim.
do you believe that she can't do the job?
I believe that Fonda could definitely assist the interim
Do you believe in saving the city some money?
I believe in saving some money and also being smart.
How much money do you think it would cost the city to hire these people? You told me today that it was gonna cost $70 an hour to bring in an interim, what do you call it, finance director, controller?
Yes.
That's what we talked about. I don't see them paying, the city of Floresville paying any kind of money for an interim. I mean, can you do the job and go through the applications or through all that, and can you, are you confident enough to get the right person? I mean, they're CPAs, it's not like you're gonna hire some just local labor or anything. They have their licenses, they have, I mean, I think that we hired you to be able to take the wheel of the city and pick the right person that you need for the control. I don't believe that.
Yeah, they're not just CPAs, they're, you know, you have to be qualified and knowledgeable in municipal law
Okay,
as well.
if we put it on TML, in the newspaper, do you think that the applications that we screen, or that she screens, because it's gonna be her job to pick who she wants, do you think that is she capable of picking a right controller? Or do you think that we need somebody to pick somebody for us? That they picked you the last time out of 5 out of whatever it was.
Well, ultimately, it wouldn't be our decision anyway.
No, it's like I'm saying, Eric, you're not paying attention. I'm telling you that she's gonna pick whoever she wants. She can go ahead and get the applications, go through them, take 4 to 6 weeks and say, you know what, I went through 50 applications and I believe that this was the one. And we saved the city the money.
My recommendation, the reason why I'm recommending an interim is because of the insolvency that we have currently. We want to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row. As we finish this current audit that we've been on last year's budget, not this year's budget, and we prepare for ending this year's budget, getting ready to go into a new budget, we don't want to misstep.
So you believe that we'll have a big fall in 4 weeks or 6 weeks?
I believe
That Fonda can't do the job?
I I believe that this would help us not have a big fall in the 4 to 6 weeks. And we would try to limit it as much as possible on the time for the intern as we go back and review and go over those resumes in reference to that. So that's all I'm recommending is someone in the interim, because this is a very key position. I think the only key position, the secretary as well as the city manager, are very key positions. And so you had an interim manager who was there to do the day-to-day. You have a lot of filing that has to happen as you close out your year for last year. I just thought that we could actually have an interim reference to do that.
So the numbers were right, $70 an hour.
It's a range based on their experience, yes, $70 an hour.
Now, Mr., you mentioned in the beginning about TML, and then the TML is gonna put it out there, you mentioned Indeed, so they put on Monster.
They put on Monster, Indeed.
Pretty much, so, you know, needless to say, I mean, if there's anybody in the area interested in the position, I mean, we should get some type of applications, you know.
Yes, and actually, I think Monica pulled up a report that talked about, since we put it up there the other day, I believe we put it up there Wednesday. Yeah, she can give you a copy of how many people have gone to TML, how many have gone to our website, just as we put it up. And I believe we put it up, was that Friday, Monica, we put it up?
I posted on the 17th.
The 17th, so that would have been Monday.
They posted 318.
Mr. Robles, I think she sees your hand, but we're trying to finish our discussion here, so get you. Yeah. And so also, Mr., on the $70 an hour, I mean, I understand, you know, we are making some expense, but, I mean, we're not paying that salary for the next 4 to 6 weeks, right? So generally, I mean, we're grabbing from that salary, not paying any kind
We're
of.
grabbing from that salary, that budget line item that we're giving there, and you have to imagine that that budget line is not just what the salary is quoted there. Actually, I think that salary is $66,955.20. But it also, there's another line item that have to pay benefits. So there's no benefits associated to that, but also is associated with that. So there's a savings in reference to you don't have to pay benefits in reference to that salary line item itself.
And on an interim person, are you talking